Welcome to Suburban Action Week. This is the last session of the day, day 3. So this is an advocacy talk. It's with the Friends of the East Branch DuPage River Trail, and I'm Maggie Sherwinski from the Active Transportation Alliance, an advocacy manager there, and my colleague Crispina Ojeda Simmons is also here. She's our planning project manager, and the two of us will be helping with Q&A. So if anyone has any questions during this session, please add those questions or thoughts, comments to the chat, and we'll read those off after the presentation. So we've got several of the team members of the leadership committee of the Friends of the East Branch DuPage River Trail. So we have Libby, Ahern, Gilmore, Ginger Wheeler, and Steve Johnson. So I will turn it over to them to kick things off.
Well, we have right away a few ways to get in contact with us, and I will return to this slide at the end so that you have our information too, and you can take a little bit with you. But I know that we wanted to talk just briefly about where is the East Branch DuPage River Trail. So this is a little bit of a sketch, and if you're familiar with the western suburbs, then some of these roads might look familiar to you. Steve, do you want to take this?
Sure. So the East Branch DuPage River Trail in its completion will span the county from north to south, and it will start up at the border with Cook County and go all the way down to Wayland Lake in Will County, where it will merge with the West Branch DuPage River Trail. It'll run roughly along the DuPage River. Pieces of it are already in place, and we are specifically working on a section that is not in place at all, specifically from the Great Western Trail in the north down through, as you can see on this map, it will come down through Churchill Woods, going a little bit east there. And it's marked there as an existing trail because the Forest Preserve has a trail through there. It will continue through Churchill Woods south, where it will cross the Union Pacific Railroad and connect with the Prairie Path, the Illinois Prairie Path main stem between Lombard and Glen Ellen. It will then continue roughly along the DuPage River and roughly along 355 south, where it will cross Roosevelt Road at some point that we're still working on, probably at Route 53 for the moment, and then continue back along the DuPage River to the south, where it will, this scope of this project terminates at Route 56, Butterfield Road, based on the idea that between Butterfield Road and the Morton Arboretum, a connection will be built when the Illinois Department of Transportation widens and actually relocates Route 53. And that will give us connectivity with the Arboretum, which is one of our holy grails.
Maggie asked us to talk briefly about why we got involved with this trail project. And I'll speak to that first. I met Ginger at an Active Transportation Alliance meeting in fall of 2017. We were both interested in getting more access to trails in Lombard and Glen Ellen, happened to be next to each other and strike up a conversation, and we started a petition. And that's really been the crux of our movement so far to get this trail completed. And I wanted a trail because I moved from Elmhurst, where there's lots of trails, out to Lombard in an unincorporated area where there are not as many. There's like little pockets of neighborhoods and you have to drive places. Even if you're going to get groceries a mile away, there's really not a safe option to bike or walk to those places. I have 2 small children and I like to bring them on those bike errands with me. So getting the trail will be really important for me, and also an important way to connect with my neighbors and connect to parks in our area. Ginger or Steve, if you want to jump on there, you can.
Great.
Well, I got involved with it because the League of Women Voters in Glen Ellen had this bike trail, this East Branch DuPage River bike trail, as part of their comprehensive plan I'm sorry, not their comprehensive plan, but in their program book, because it was in the Village of Glen Ellen's comprehensive plan. And it's been in that plan for a long time, like decades. And I, in the 2013, I got into biking more on the Prairie Path and the Great Western Trail. And I got kind of bored with it because I was doing the same track back and forth every day. And I was like, when are they going to build this trail, this East Branch DuPage River Trail? I know it's been on the books for a really long time. And so I started asking around, and then we kind of got hooked in with, you know, the Active Transportation Alliance and so forth and so on, and met Libby and met Steve, and we've had some events and started the petition. And here we are. Here we are with in the planning phases to prepare for phase 1 engineering. Mm-hmm. So that's my story.
That's fun.
All right. So some of our keys to advocacy success. Like I said, it started with our petition that we spread on social media, and we used the platform change.org to circulate that. It was really helpful because we could share it to our networks that we already had very quickly, and within a first few months gather 500 signatures. And with that milestone, we sent it out to our elected representatives at the county level and the local level as well, and in mail form and also email, so that they definitely got it. Sometimes we do a lot electronically these days, but when you get a packet of signatures in the mail, there's really something to that. So I think that that was an important step for us. And then we tried to spread the word to local groups. Steve, you want to jump in and talk about some of our advocacy to local organizations?
Sure. We'll talk to anyone who will listen about our trail. In community groups, church groups, civic groups like the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the Kiwanis Club, who generally have an interest in improving their community, are all happy to hear from us. We've also tried to talk to bike clubs. People like the Illinois Prairie Path organization has been very helpful because this will, of course, connect with them. So anyone who's interested in this sort of thing. We've also talked to homeowners groups who are maybe adjacent to the trail or maybe just nearby, people who will benefit from this. We've tried to, I look at it as a bicycle path because I'm a cyclist, but this is a multi-use trail. So we've tried to look at all the constituencies and reach out to them to talk to these people.
And we would be happy to talk to anybody who will have us come on. So everybody that we can get to sign our petition, we are asking them to sign it. And we're shooting for 20,000 signatures. So anything you guys can do to help us spread the word would be greatly appreciated still.
Exactly. Yep.
Let's add to that we are working on a stretch between Glen Ellen and Lombard. So we're focusing on that area, but this is a regional trail. It will connect with 5 separate east-west trails when completed. So we've talked to people, if you're say in Wheaton or Elmhurst, this will provide direct connection for you via the other trails.
Mm-hmm. And it also connects to the trails in other counties too.
Yes.
So it really is a great amenity for the whole region.
And another way that we've tried to spread the word is through our social media campaigns. We have a website, the eastbranchtrail.org. We have a Facebook group, that we have signage. Ginger is wearing her flag pin this evening. And I made them, but I don't have mine on. So we try to wear those to any event that we go to. And it's just sort of a memorable thing. Oh, the green flag people, you guys must be with the trail. So that's very helpful. Also, Ginger is awesome creating an e-blast that goes out in our e-newsletter. So we have that avenue as well to communicate with people about the updates on the trail. And luckily we have had some great successes that we can communicate and say, hey, way to go. Now share this more so that we can get the biggest base of support that we can. We're working on yard signs. So if you're interested in a yard sign, you can send us an email afterwards or join our Facebook group and we can hook you up with one of those. Obviously after the snow melts, because your yard right now.
Like 10 feet high on top
right.
of it.
Yeah, your snowman can hold it. And the other part is not just getting people to sign our petition, but continually pressing our local representatives with those extra signatures. So whenever we have another milestone in our signatures on the petition, we say, hey, look what we did. Here's some more, so that they don't put the trail on the back burner like it was when Ginger came across the plan from years ago. We want to make sure it stays front and center, and keeping in contact with our local officials via the petition and attending their meetings, making public comment at county board meetings, or Forest Preserve or Transportation Committee meetings. That has been really helpful for our advocacy as well.
That's right. One of the tricks about this particular bike trail is that there are a lot of different jurisdictions involved in. So we have identified most of them. We've got, and a lot of different, it touches a lot of different county board districts as well. So there's a lot of different people that we have to get involved. So we have like the Glenbard wastewater is involved, Commonwealth Edison is involved, UP Westline train line is involved. The IDOT people, Illinois Department of Transportation people are involved. So getting all those people to the table at one time is a big challenge. And with the leadership of DuPage County in making this project a priority, they've been able to have several steering committee meetings so far with those stakeholders sitting at the table and making decisions together. And I just want to commend DuPage County and Chairman Dan Cronin for that, because he's really been a champion of this, and he has basically, and the county board, with that leadership, they've been able to bring these stakeholders to the table. I mean, everybody's really for this bike trail. It's nobody's against it. Our biggest enemy is inertia. If we don't have public support, it could just kind of fall off the priority list again, which is what happened back in the early 2000s. So our mission is just to constantly raise awareness, talk to more people, tell more people, and try to get more people to sign our petition. Then we turn the petitions over to our politicians and say, look, we still have this great support, it's growing, and they're listening, they're paying attention, and they are working on it. So that's really exciting for us.
Another important part of our success, I think, has been our team. So if you're learning about the East Branch Trail to try to replicate something like this in your community, getting people with a variety of skills and a variety of existing social networks and connections to the community has been really helpful. Ginger and Steve are awesome, and I wouldn't do this without them. And maybe likewise, when one of us is like, the trail stuff, the other to push, and also the members of our Facebook group, and it's not just the leadership team, but we have to build a coalition to hold each other accountable so that we can hold our representatives accountable.
Exactly.
So how you can help, spread the word, tell your neighbors. If you have a community group that you think would be interested, obviously we can meet with you virtually whenever. That's kind of a blessing in disguise of right now, that our availability. And you can also contact your representatives. So we have encouraged our supporters of the trail to make public comment, but sending an email, writing a letter, all of that would be really helpful to moving this project forward. And you can join the Friends of the East Branch Trail. And I'll show you in the next slide all the different ways that you can connect with us so that we can together build this trail.
It does take a lot of public support. And that is a challenge. It's a challenge, but it's also a lot of fun. So if you have a trail project in mind in your area and you want to get started, I would say like Libby had said, my first big piece of advice would be find a buddy to do it with. So you can spur each other on. When one of you gets busy doing something, the other one can pick up the slack, and vice versa. You have to stay persistent. It takes a long time. You have to, I would say also other advice would just be thank people a lot. Early on when we were meeting with elected officials and talking about this in person, we would take a picture and then we would frame the picture and deliver it as a thank you. And it just occurred to me that's something we ought to keep doing, even though we're doing it virtually. So I need to like take a picture and send it on, but do it with my computer. So a screen grab picture. So always thank people, you know, considering that they have a lot of other things going on, a lot of other priorities. And our priority, which is this bike trail, may not necessarily be theirs, but we want to make sure that they know that people care about it, want it, are supportive of it. So yeah, so that's my advice if you're looking to get one done in your area. Find a buddy, thank people, make connections, build a list, keep the communications going, stay persistent. I don't know, do you guys have any other thoughts about that? Libby or Steve?
I think you got it right. It's bipartisan. So just making that effort too, it just to get to know anybody and everybody who is a stakeholder and able to move the project forward.
I think another lesson learned that we have recently had is that we need to educate all the elected officials in a certain governing body and not just rely on a couple to be our messengers. So that's something we've learned recently, is that we need to constantly be educating elected officials, all of them, all the county board members, you know, all the Forest Preserve board members, all the councilmen on the village of Glen Ellen, all the representatives on the village of Lombard. And that's hard, but it's something that you have to do. You have to make it a priority to make sure that everybody gets the message.
I would chime in, most elected officials want to be involved in something like this. Mm-hmm. They want to be involved in a feel-good project that's non-controversial. They're happy to listen. And the more people that we get involved, the more the word spreads. I'm going to put in a plug right here. If anybody on this call knows anyone on the Lombard Village Board or the Lombard Park District Board, please contact us after this seminar. You never know when people are going to change, because we had, as Ginger said just recently, we had two real champions, one on the county board, one on the Forest Preserve District, both Republicans who were swept away in a blue wave. We needed to make some more friends, which we should have done already.
That was a lesson learned.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard because we all have jobs, we all have day jobs. So we're trying to juggle that around other people's working schedules, and it's a challenge, but you just have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to how you can contact us. We'll go to that first slide with all of our information on it. And then I think that there have been a couple of questions in the chat, so we can open it up to that and take this conversation in whatever direction you want to go with it.
Great. Maggie, do you guys
I'm just pulling up the chat list. So I'll get started with it. So from Nancy, and it looks like Libby, you already replied to her, but Nancy says, I live in Downhurst Grove. There is such a huge need for a north-south trail that is in between the Salt Creek Trail and the West Branch Trail. And she's looking forward to this being completed. And Libby, you asked her if she was part of the Facebook group. So it looks like you can search groups and search the trail between to find and join your group, which is, you've got a lot of people, which is great. You have, I love how you're utilizing social media, email, like all different types of platforms to try to reach people.
Yeah, and I would say too, if people want to get on our mailing list, I would really encourage you to do that. It's at the bottom of every single one of our web pages. There's a link to subscribe to our emails, because it's when you subscribe yourself, you can always unsubscribe yourself later. And if you change your mind or don't want to get them, but we don't really bombard you with email. We send out maybe one a month, if that. Generally, it's when there's some news, something good to say, that's when we're sending them out. or if we need we're really looking for help in a particular thing. So I would encourage everybody to sign up for our email blasts at the bottom of our website, which is eastbranchtrail.org. The other thing is I wanted to point out the county has their own website about this project, which is ebdrt.com. And you can go on that website also and put in your comments and your feedback, which the county then will get directly. So you don't have to go through us. You can talk directly to county planners like Sid Kenyon, who's on this call, who's been a big help with this project. So thank you, Sid. And really do appreciate all your support and help with this. And I would encourage everybody to look at that website also and go on there and add your thoughts and comments and, you know, sentiments of support. It's very helpful to do that. Another thing too we've learned is in comprehensive planning, a lot of, every organization does comprehensive plans, and we always think it's really important to make sure the East Branch Trail stays in their comprehensive plan and stays prominent on their comprehensive plan. So whenever you see any organization is doing a comprehensive plan, make sure you get a hold of them and say, hey, what about this project? And make sure it stays in their plan so that they know they have support. And then down the road, other people like me can see it's in their plan and maybe pick up the mantle and encourage them to continue, doing what they said they were going to do whenever they built their plan. That makes sense.
I have a question also from Ralph. Because of the length of the trail length and multiple agencies, municipalities involved, was there any consideration to phase segments of the trail over time, or has it always been an all or nothing? Wouldn't small successes of the trail building raise pressure to build more sections?
Definitely. That's how we're doing it.
Yep. This section we're talking about is a section.
Right.
So it definitely is.
We're working on a 3-mile section, and actually that project, because of some challenges, has become somewhat bifurcated. North of Roosevelt Road is ahead of south of Roosevelt Road because of some challenges and funding. So it will definitely be in pieces, and I'll point out to the person from Downers Grove, we look forward to working with you later in this decade to connect that portion of the trail.
Our sort of plan is that once we get this part done, we're going to tackle the next part. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
Even within this plan, sorry, Maggie, there's chunks that they're focusing on too as far as construction goes, like just between the Great Western and Roosevelt is like a section to troubleshoot, and then Roosevelt to Butterfield. So within even our small segment, they're chunking it.
That's right. And some of it's already built too. I mean, this is a 30-mile trail end to end.
Yeah.
So our segment is just about a 6-mile segment. But some of that 30 miles is done, whether it was built by the Forest Preserve or the county. I mean, they have done chunks of it here and there. So this is all about connecting some of those chunks. This is a connecting piece to parts of it that are already built, like the part through Churchill Woods is already built.
Yes, and the southern section, the far southern section. But the more we add, obviously, and this is true with any trail, the more you add, the more viable it becomes as a trail and valuable.
Another question I had, or not a question actually, is just, could you tell us a little bit about how you decided to become a 501c3? Because that's a recent development.
Actually, we're a 501c4.
Oh, a C4.
Yes.
C6, aren't we? Isn't
no,
it
we're 501c4. We're a not-for-profit, but a 501c3 is a charitable organization that really is not doing political advocacy. And right now that's all we're doing. So when you have a petition, that's political advocacy. And so we are a 501c4. That doesn't, it means people can still donate money to us as a not-for-profit, but they can't write it off their taxes necessarily because it's not like a 501c3. However, we can still accept money and we are not for profit. So that's how that works. Our pledge is the minute they break ground on this particular segment of the trail, we're going to convert and become a 501c3, which would then be a charitable organization. But at that point, we wouldn't necessarily be able to be lobbying politicians as our sole means of activity. We might be doing things like raising money for signage or park benches or beautifying the trail or cleaning it or just publicizing it or things like that.
Sure, we'll move from trail advocacy to trail stewardship.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Thank you, Steve. But we can still do, public advocacy as a 501c3. You just can't make it the only thing you do.
Right.
So
I would note for anyone who is looking at replicating what we've done, that money has not been an issue. We're not here to solicit funds. We're not meeting with people to solicit funds. It's nice to have a little bit here and there, and we've had donations, but it really does not take a lot of money to do this. This is a grassroots effort. It takes time and communication.
Yeah.
Money has come to us without us even asking. We have gotten donations in the mail, not even asking, because people really believe in the project and they want to help. And so it's happened several times where I've just gotten the mail and I've opened a check. So I had to open a bank account to put the checks in. And now we're gonna buy yard signs with some of those donations. So,
and our website, it's only $12 a year to host the domain. So it's something that if you want to take a first step, that would be a great first step, because then you can easily refer people to it and build support that way with a pretty small economic cost. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, this is all really good advice you guys are sharing. Another question. I've always been impressed by how the relationship building you've done with elected officials. And do you have any advice on how to get started? Did you just email someone and say, could we talk? Could we meet for coffee? How did you get started?
Ginger and Steve, I feel like, know some elected officials already. So if you're totally new, like I was, maybe hook up with people who do know those politicians or who have connections already. Or I mean, when I mailed out the petition that we had at 500 signatures, it was one of the first things that landed on a representative or a board member Elliot's desk. And he said, oh, I opened this up. And I was like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. So you don't even have to have those existing relationships. It's all about the follow-up. So, mailing the petition and then following up with a phone call or an email. Hey, did you get this in the mail? And here are all the people, and just starting that process, or inviting elected officials out to some of your grassroots organizing events. That's a great way to start building that relationships, face-to-face, chit-chat, kind of get to know each other.
Yeah, and I would say too, I don't think you really necessarily have to know people that are elected officials. They're generally interested to hear from their constituents, and they want to hear from their constituents. And so if you've got a project in your area and you just have to figure out which is the right elected official, because I floundered around for a while, not hitting the right people. And it took a little bit more. So that's one of the tricks. And in my case, this trail is more on county jurisdiction and not in the village of Glen Ellen. And I was asking people in Glen Ellen, and they were like, well, that's not in our territory. So it took a while to figure out, well, who do you call? And generally,
you need to be creative.
It was the county board, yeah.
In this case, the county took on, after some jockeying back and forth, took on the responsibility of lead agency. It didn't necessarily have to go that way. That was most logical. But if you talk to a wide variety of people, you're going to get to the right people who are willing to take this on. And I would echo what Ginger said. Your local officials want to talk to you. So reach out. It helps to get someone in the group who's a little perhaps more involved civically. That'll get you started.
And ask at Active Transportation Alliance. They have great resources too, and they probably know exactly who you should talk to, most likely.
Yeah.
Or it'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, we're always happy to help make connections, and sometimes we'll connect people now to Ginger, Libby, and Steve because we know you guys have such good connections. So,
Thank you.
Curious about your petition right now. How many signatures do you have?
That's a really good question. It's a challenge to keep track of those petitions because we also have made them available for print so that when we went to a lot of these in-person events before COVID, we were asking people to sign the petitions in person. And we collected hundreds of pages of petition signatures. And, you know, sometimes we would run out of space and they would start writing on the bottom underneath. There's 10 blanks on each one. Then they would write underneath and they would go on the back page. We'd run out of paper or whatever. So I've scanned all of the paper ones, and then we always, once in a while, will print off the ones from change.org, but we have to combine the two. So we have the electronic ones and then we have the paper ones. Right now we have 234 pages of a PDF that's full of signatures. So on the
about 5,000?
We're close to 5,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But we want to get to 20. So we really need, it takes people asking people to go on this website and sign the petition. That's really the only way it happens. If people are out, like at these events that we went to when we were in person, you know, people would come by, we'd have a booth or whatever, and they would always sign our petition. Hardly anybody would be like, oh, I don't like that idea. That's a terrible idea. No, everybody loves it.
We have copies too if you are still going to work in person. It's something that you can leave in the break room or circulate that way if you work with people who are in the area. Or we also have the change.org platform is an easy share on your social media. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, you can put it on Instagram, whatever you're doing, that petition can go to your network. And, you know, even if everyone on here shares it and that you get 2 or 3 people from your community that join on that petition, then they might share it. I mean, it really is a ripple effect. It can make a huge difference.
It really does. And we have the blank ones on the website, which you can easily download and print them off and bring them around. And I have gotten a lot in the mail that way too, which has been really great. So I want to thank those people who have taken the time to do that.
I'd point out a petition goes both ways. We want your signature to show support for the trail. But as you make people aware of the petition, it helps them become aware of the activity of the trail.
Exactly.
And your petition, you were able to get 3 bodies of government to commit money, a lot of money towards studying this trail, correct? Could you talk more about that?
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
You're good at that.
This is an example of finding the right people and get everyone together. So in this case, this dates back to the current chairman of the DuPage County Board. The previous chairman of the Forest Preserve District saw that there was a groundswell for this. The plan was already on the books. So they put something, these are people who control budgets, put an amount in the budget for study. The village of Glen Ellen stepped in with a much smaller amount. They're a much smaller governmental body, but wanted to show that they were committed as well. And then unasked, the Glen Ellen Park District jumped in too, because this is something that's of interest to them. So when you talk to your local politicians, you're essentially asking for, I'm not asking for money for our organization, but we want it to advance this civic project. Because it's great to be supported, but it has to be funded.
And then they've also been able to get grants. They've gotten grants to help fund this engineering study that they're working on.
Right.
So that's also been really helpful. It takes a lot of work and it takes the work of staff to write those kind of grants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To the grant writers and also to Active Transfer, also like keeping up with, hey, this is a grant that might be good, and sending that out to local officials and groups like ours so that we can take advantage of any and all funding opportunity.
I was just going to say that. Shout out to Active Transfer, always alerting us when they hear about grants that are available. And we're always sending them on to Sid Kenyon, who's on this call. Saying,
right. And he sends them on to Emily Anderson, who's also on this call.
I mean, we figure they already know, but it never hurts to remind them.
Well, it's certainly been exciting. Like when I first met you two, Ginger and Libby, at one of the trainings, to see what has happened, I guess 4 years later. It's amazing. And you guys have done a lot of great work, all three of you, just getting so much community support behind this and working with elected officials and municipal staff, county staff, and yeah, excited to see what will happen in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Us too.
Yep. Well, we heard on Sid's talk today. He said mid-decade we're going to have a trail, so we're working for that. Working out perfect timing for my granddaughter, who's 5 months old. I was always said, at least we can have this trail. I can ride on it with my grandchild.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I didn't see any other questions in the chat, so. Thank you all. Thank you so much for taking the time this evening to share all about the East Branch DuPage River Trail, and hopefully we'll get some more signatures for you, and we'll make sure to share the petition with everyone who's registered for Suburban Action Week. So, and encourage them to spread the word.
Yeah, I see there is one more question in there. It says about the petition does say DuPage County residents, but honestly, anyone can sign it. We're taking signatures from anyone. It's DuPage County. It says DuPage County and friends. So this is not like a political petition to get somebody into office. This is more of a friendly petition to show support for this initiative. So it's not like somebody's going to go through each and every signature and scrutinize it and make sure that it's, legit the way they would if you were in some kind of a partisan petition race.
Anyone who's a stakeholder should sign it, and a stakeholder would be anyone who will use this trail. And bear in mind, this trail will connect with down in Will County. It will go all the way to the to the Cook County border, and it will connect with the city of Chicago, and it can go all the way to the Wisconsin border with the Fox River Trail. Mm-hmm. So anyone who might use this certainly has an interest in signing.
Absolutely, for sure.
Well, thank you, Maggie, for organizing. We really appreciate the opportunity to reach out to people and talk about this project that's dear to our hearts, and hopefully we'll see a lot of great movement on it in the next couple of years with all of the help from the active transportation community and everybody on this call.
See you on the trail.
Yeah, see you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.